First, European ADCC trials recap. So obviously ADCC is the Olympics of our sport. We have trials events around the world. Each division at the ADCC World Championships has 8 trials winners and 8 invitees. Invitees are past medalists or just people with a big name that would really contribute to that division being world class. The other 8 tickets are reserved for trials winners. That's what makes ADCC so special. A no-name guy can win the trials and potentially face off against a famous guy at ADCC. And because the way the seeding works, typically the invitees are seated at the top, trials winners at the bottom. So your first round as a trials winner will be against a high-ranked famous name. Asian trials, bottom of the barrel, we face the previous champion, typically first round. European trials ranked a bit higher. They face a middle of the invitee sort of list first round. European trials were in Poland. They're in Warsaw. Mo Jassim, head of ADCC, he runs some of the trials. He runs some of the American trials. He does not run the European trials. I'm putting this in here because I'm going to complain about some stuff, and I don't want you to think I'm complaining directly about Mo Jassim. Mo puts on a great trials event. Let's go through the divisions. One other caveat, I'm not going to talk about the women's divisions here, and that's because the first trials there's 2 trials in each region. The first trials, they don't give away a women's ticket. The second trials, they do. So the women here are basically competing for a bit of prestige, a bit of a practice in the rule set. And I think in some of the trials, if you win the first one, they'll pay for your trip to go to the second trials. But that's not in all events. I know they definitely do that in North American trials. Let's go through the divisions one by one. 66 kilos was won by a guy I've never heard of, Owen Jones, a UK-based grappler. He had a great run, and shockingly, he took out Ash Williams. Ash Williams, previous trials winner, would have been #1 seed in this division, probably the favorite to win the division. Ash, he's been around for a long time. I think double or triple Polaris champion. He's beaten a ton of good guys. He's had quite a few good scraps with Ethan. He is in a flow grappling tournament coming up, which is a stacked little 4-man event to crown a champion for who's #1 on flow grappling. But again, Owen takes him out. Another guy, B-team guy, really proud of his effort, Cam Donnelly. When I first trained with Cam Donnelly, he wasn't super impressive. So I'm not saying this to criticize him, I'm just saying this kid has worked so hard and has become very, very dangerous, especially recently. His last trip, when he came to B-team, he really impressed us. We were like, holy shit, this guy's made a lot of progress in a very small amount of time. And this tournament really showed that. So he faced off against Sam McNally. Sam McNally, another ADCC trials winner. He actually beat Gary Tonin first round at ADCC. So I don't think Gary's ever gone out first round at ADCC, but this previous event for the 66 kilo, Sam McNally took him out, and he took him out in a pretty convincing manner. So Sam's a big name in that part of the world. Cam enters his legs, threatens a knee bar, transition straight to heel hook, gets the tap, and I think it was under 2 minutes. So that's a huge feather in his back, in his hat. Cam Donnelly, super impressive. B-team guy, made it all the way through to the semi-finals, but Owen ultimately took out the division. And the way he did it, again, beating veterans like Ash Williams, super impressive. This is why I'm so glad I never have to do trials again, because you could be a veteran like Ash and you're taking on these young, hungry guys that is just like, the trials to them is like the world star, so it's super difficult. Some of our guys at B-team have to do the trials again, and yeah, they're gonna have to go through a murderer's row to get that ticket. 77, most stacked division of the entire tournament. Without question, this had the biggest names in the event, and it was taken out by none other than B-team athlete Joseph Chen. Of course, we can't claim too much credit for him. He's like a self-made athlete. He's trained all over the world. He spent some time with Jason Rao, so we've got to credit Jason Rao's contribution to his camp as well. And he's not been training an awfully long time, and he's only 19 years old, and he's only a brown belt. So something happens with whoever was doing these brackets. You probably, if you saw me on Instagram, you saw us complaining hard about this. Thankfully, Joseph persevered and still won. But Oliver Taza, his side of the bracket, basically had no names on that side. And on the other side was Matus Sashinsky, probably one of the scariest grapplers in the world with the amount of people's legs he breaks. Tommy Langlacker, world renowned in both the gi and no gi. And it also had Davis Asari, who was actually Oliver Taza's teammate, who I believe was he was meant to be on Taza's side of the bracket. They do this, of course, so that you wouldn't have an all new wave final there, which would be pretty bad. That's when things happen where there might be a fake match or something. They typically make them face off earlier. Davis made weight and then apparently was sick on the day. So yeah, super strange, super strange. So for Joseph to win this, he had to beat in a row Matus Soshinsky, who at the previous European trials broke his foot pretty badly. Then he had to immediately face Tommy Langlacker, and then in the final faced off against Oliver Taza. Oliver Taza, standout grappler, he's been around forever. He's competed in just about every event. He's been dominating the opens. He's had so much practice in this rule set. And I'm not going to say it was an easy run to the finals. None of these guys are going to be easy to beat athletes, but if you contrast Joseph's run and Taza's run was significantly easier. So I was worried about Joseph going in. He had competed in quintet the week before, and he had a crazy run to be able to win this. He beats Matus. He only got in trouble once against Matus. He kept his left leg back. Matus goes for his shotgun Aoki lock on his opponent's left feet. So he kept that left foot way out of range, avoided any danger. But Matus did hit a nice little berimbolo style movement, almost took Joseph's back. Joseph stood up, shook him off, and was in control for most of the match. Matus is incredibly dangerous, specifically in one area, attacking the legs. He's quite good everywhere else, but he does have a little bit of a hole in his wrestling. So I knew that if it was going to go to OT, that would probably favor Joseph, because Joseph is an incredible wrestler. He's almost too well-rounded. He's good off the back. He's good at passing. He's good at takedown. So yeah, Joseph was able to take that out. He took him down. Matus turtled. It was a close match, but Joseph clearly won that decision. Next, he had Tommy Langlacker. He comes out, and almost as if it was scripted, he passed immediately to Mount 1 second into the points period. And then he passed again. So Langlacker kind of got a half butterfly back. Joseph passes it immediately. Joseph has a unique style of passing people's butterfly guards. It's a combination of tripod passing and float passing, but he puts himself in this position where you on bottom think you're going to be able to sweep him, but you can't sweep him. And when you try to, he uses that as opportunity to pass. It's like something unique. And again, in all my years of training, never felt anyone pass butterfly like that. And it just showed. Tommy Langlacker's guard very rarely gets passed in competition. Joseph did it 2 times and took his back. And then in the final, he faces off against Oliver Taza. To be honest, he's dominating Taza. That's the way I saw it. He's dominating Taza throughout the regulation period, but he couldn't score. But Taza really didn't have much. Taza was, every time Taza would begin an offensive movement, Joseph would just counter it very strong. But again, Joseph couldn't score. But if you were to give a decision just to the regulation period, Joseph crushed it. So now we go into OT. Taza shoots a double, semi out of position. Joseph hits a big Uchimata counter to it, I believe on concrete, out of bounds. And then he tries to backstep on Taza. Taza scoots back. It gets close to the back. He gets a seatbelt, and they have to reset in the middle. And now this is one of the best sequences of the entire event. Taza is attempting to take Joseph's back. Joseph does a wrestling style, grabs the head, reverses the position, takes Taza's back, hits a seatbelt style roll that you guys would have seen Ryan Hall hit in MMA. It's a move Ryan Hall loves. Leo Vieira would do a variation of it, but he uses this. Taza blocks it momentarily, and Joseph still somehow gets 2 hooks in from the back and is able to take out a decision victory from there. But yeah, Joseph takes out Taza. There's a lot of controversy online. People are laughing at Taza. Me and Taza, I like Taza. We're friends from a long time ago. I actually faced Taza I met him way back in 2015 when I faced him at Nogi Worlds. The funny thing is the online battle where John Danaher calls him a senior, Gordon calls him a junior. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. It's rude to consider world-class black belts juniors, and it's a way to rob their opponents of the respect for the victory they deserve. If Taza's a junior, what is Joseph Chen? Hasn't trained as long. He's a brown belt. Again, none of these guys are juniors. We go to 88. Santeri Lilius takes out 88. And 88 on paper, to me, I didn't see any standout names apart from Santeri's. And from all the matches I watched, he pretty much cruised to victory. He had a match with Nicky Ryan last weekend. It was a great match. Nicky Ryan got the better at the beginning. Santeri's gas tank was taking him through to the end. Santeri, I've trained with him before. He's just a great all-rounder. Like, you can't point to one part of his game that's so strong you'd want to avoid it at all costs, and you can't point to one part of his game where you feel it's so weak you'd want to exploit that. So to me, Santeri's tough because of his well-rounded skills, and he has an incredible gas tank. And you guys saw this at ADCC trials. He pushed through the entire series. His toughest opponent was Chris Wojcik. Chris Wojcik has trained at B-Team for the last few months. Chris had a great run at this trials. He's a bit undersized for 88 though. He's more of a 77 guy. He was tearing people's ankles apart, and he had a bad ankle. So you saw both his legs, both his ankles were actually taped. Again, we do that to try to hide which of our ankles is broken. Because again, if you go out there with an ankle band on, that's like blood in the water. People are going to target that, especially at such a high stakes event like ADCC trials. But he had a real close match with Santeri. To be honest, probably would have lost the decision, in my opinion. You never know how it would have gone, but Santeri passed with like 3 seconds to go. Really good knee cut pass. Really good knee cut pass by Santeri. Under 99, 2 standout performances to me were Declan Moody, Luke Griffiths. Luke Griffiths took out the division. I think he beat Declan in the semis. Declan was on a tear though. Declan's one of our boys. He's from my home city, Adelaide. So he's there. Well, he's one of the guys I like the most to train with in the gym, just to spend time with. He's a fucking legend. So it was good to see him. He had some great matches. He took out another guy that trains in Australia, Euros, who he's had tough matches with in the past, but at this trials, he took him out quick. So really that to me was showing how much progress Declan has made. Declan had a bit of a scrap with Luke. He almost swept Luke. Luke just seems so big, so strong, so technical, and he was able to pass Declan, mount him, take the back, and then from the back, Luke would be one of the best in the world. Chokes Luke. Luke chokes Declan, takes out under 99. Again, very, very dominant. Luke, although most people know his name, he did have this recent loss at Aiga. He is for sure one of the best guys in the world. Over 99, we have Big Dan in there, right? Big Dan has won everything there is to win in the ADCC Opens. He's just been massacring fucking bus drivers and school teachers at these events, fucking smothering them, doing horrible things, beating really good guys as well. But yeah, he's just this 300-pound monster. Terrifying guy, really, because he's a 300-pound guy that rips on submissions quick. Like, he moves like a little guy. So it's like, the risk of injury against a guy like Big Dan is substantial. I remember when I would train at DDS back in the day, Big Dan would always ask me to roll, and I'd say, not now, not ever, big fella. We're not doing it, you know? So he faces off against, I'm probably butchering his name, Hiki in the final. Hiki was a guy that talked shit about Gordon before the last ADCC, asked for Gordon first round. So, and this guy's not a full-time grappler. I believe he works a 9 to 5, and he just competes and trains for fun. He faces off against Big Dan in the final. Substantial weight differential here. Just about anyone in the world is going to have a weight differential with Big Dan. The dude's 300 fucking pounds, you know? So Heikki just really dominated most of the wrestling exchanges. Big Dan couldn't do much. At one stage, just to demonstrate how strong this fucker is, he's got a single leg, he grabs the heel, he lifts Dan up and foot sweeps his other leg out. And it's just absolutely mind-blowing. Right at the end of his match as well, he was able to get to a body lock and make Big Dan turtle, which to me is crazy. Big Dan's going to be stronger than anyone out there. So for me to see this, it just demonstrates such good fundamentals from Heikki to be able to use these techniques on such a big, powerful, scary individual. That was super impressive. Again, Big Dan, one thing I will say, when you're part of New Wave and you face off against Gordon's enemies, there's a fuckload of pressure on you. You really feel it. So like Heikki having wanted Gordon first round of last ADCC, Big Dan having to face him in the finals of this Euro Trials, high pressure match. And unfortunately for Big Dan, he couldn't get it done, but very impressive for Heikki. Again, not even a full-time grappler, and he's able to take out a monster like Big Dan. So Euro trials were awesome. I was up at 4 a.m. I'd like to pretend I was up at 4 a.m. because I was so invested in ADCC and European trials, but I'm jet lagged from Tokyo. So when I woke up at 4 a.m. and I saw it was on, I was like, fuck it, I won't even try to go back to sleep. So me, Nikki, and Freddie, we watched basically the whole European trials, so as best we could with formats going. But yeah, great event. Next is Asian trials, I believe, and then North American trials. So cannot wait to see the results of those ones. But we got one B team guy already through to ADCC. We're claiming him, Joseph Chen.